All right, welcome back to the channel, everybody. Trade the Matrix. This is Morpheus, Liquid Sundays, 6/14/2026. Let's jump right into our notes here. Week of June 15th, 2026, recent market tone. Equities remain resilient year to date with strong corporate earnings. S&P 500 earnings growth tracking well above forecasts. Leadership, narrow AI tech and energy. Last week saw mild pullbacks, but broader indices held key levels. New Fed Chair Kevin Warsh's first meeting dominates sentiment. Markets price in rates on hold, 3.5 to 3.75% range, with limited cut expectations this year. This week's key events, we've got the biggest catalyst, the FOMC, Tuesday to Wednesday. Tuesday, FOMC begins. Wednesday, rate decision, widely expected hold, plus the press conference, Warsh's debut, and economic projections. So, um, usually a new Fed chair kind of gets tested on their debut. So, maybe we can anticipate some volatility. We also have options expiration on Thursday. It is triple witching, Thursday the 18th. And don't forget, it's a short week, Juneteenth, National Independence Day. The market is closed on Friday. So anyway, other data we have Monday: Empire State Manufacturing, Industrial Production, NAHB Housing. I just mentioned the Juneteenth holiday. Markets are closed on Friday. Wednesday, retail sales. Light earnings week overall. What to watch? Fed tone and Warsh's comments. Any hawkish surprise on inflation? Recent data hotter could pressure markets and reduce rate cut odds. Retail sales and manufacturing data. Fresh read on consumer and factory strength. Volatility expected around FOMC, typical for the first meeting under new chair. Sector flow. Watch semis and tech for continuation or rotation. Um, Ties into names like ADI at key support. I brought up the chart of ADI. Bottom line, holiday shortened week centered on the Fed. Expect choppiness Wednesday. Bias remains constructive on earnings, but sensitive to policy signals. Stock Traders Almanac does have a bull on it for Monday. And the statistic for the week is Dow down 15 of the last 28. And also triple witching week often up in bull markets and down in bear markets. We're clearly in a bull market still. Um, so yeah, and then June triple witching day has been mixed. Down has been mixed, but down 8 of the last 10. All right. So those are the statistics from Stock Traders Almanac. All right, let's get these notes off of here and let's bring up our SPX monthly cash session levels. Here is May. We went over this a little bit last week. We'll go over it again just to touch base. We'll just zoom right in on the monthly candle for May. We'll take our fib tool. We'll take the high to the low. We can see, around 73.87, we'll call it roughly. I had like 73.85 ish. So, tested the lower support from last month in June already, and big wick up above our 50% mark. This 618 level is going to be pretty important. I did have, in our notes, technically, 74.30 was a technical level to close above, but I wanted to see for continuation. I want to see above 74.37. We'll call it. This is our golden pocket here, and 75.09 is the 786. So if we clear this 75.09, I think we can go back to test all-time highs. That may or may not happen. We're testing this level right now in the futures market. We gapped up significantly, up 0.85% right now. We can take a look at that in a little bit. So, we're above 50% of previous month, and we're above the 618. So let's see. We'll see if we can use this level here as near-term support. Let's take a look at the weekly level, get a closer look at it. Okay, so here is previous week, candle, hammer, and again, above 50%. Obviously, we were watching that level, midweek, beginning of the week, see if we were going to reclaim that. We did. Strong, strong buying pressure, obviously up off of this level here. And again, here's another nice little confluence here. We closed at 74.31, the 786 level here. If we were going to reverse, this would have been a good spot to reverse from. So this 74.30 level seems like it's going to be pretty important. And we're now trading up above previous week's resistance in the futures market. So now that we're back up above this previous week's high, we'll look to see if that flips and acts as support. If not, we'll look to the 786 level as support. And if that fails, we'll go down lower. But it looks like we have some upward trajectory currently in the futures market. So this is the weekly. We'll just take a look at Friday's action, get a little bit closer look, get some tighter levels. Take Friday's support, take Friday's resistance. So probably, above 7,500. The extension here, 7,515. This might act as initial resistance if we push up above 7,500. And then we can basically, same thing, previous support. We'll look to see if this acts as resistance. I'm sorry, previous resistance. We'll see if this acts as support going forward. Okay, so you can mark that level there, 74.58 support and 75.15 resistance. So those are our monthly, weekly, and daily levels on the SPX cash session. Again, right now, we'll just take a look real quick at our SPX 500 electronic. We've got a gap up here. You can see oftentimes this does get filled, but right now we've got some positive catalysts, on potential deal with Iran, the 50th time in 40 days that we've come to an agreement. So we'll see what happens if this deal actually gets done. But you can see NQ up to 0.35%. So it is pretty nice breakout from the previous week's range here. On NQ, you can see resistance around 30,000. The high of this candle here is just going to be 30,807.75. That's all-time high. We'll see. I can do some NQ levels again this week if you'd like. Been playing with it. Typically, I'm just pretty much coming up with the SPX, ES, and SPY, but I've been mixing in some NQ levels as well for those interested in NQ. Let's take a look at ES real quick here. Here was the range from Friday, and here's our gap right now currently. We can take a look at the YM as well. if we're going to get some rotation, um, I was I was mentioning, financials, um, healthcare, and industrials. So we might see some nice rotation into the Dow. Um, let's take a look at our heat map here from um, from Friday. You can see financials. Okay, so I posted a chart for Visa, but J.P. Morgan, Berkshire Hathaway, Bank of America, IBKR, Wells Fargo. A lot of these names, um, if you're interested in trading, a strong sector, looking for some liquid tickers within the XLF, that's not a bad idea. Also, there's some strength in XLV healthcare. So some areas of interest. You can see there's some rotation. Semis definitely pulled back a bunch, but there was some strength here. Yet AMD was up almost 5%. Qualcomm, SanDisk, some of these names that were pretty parabolic, um, bouncing a little bit. So those are kind of key things we're going to focus on heading in to this week. I can post some other notes as well from Alpha Alerts that I can talk about some of the notes that I posted on Friday. Um, you know, the biggest I can post this on. I'll put this on our chart here. Hold on, or I'll drop this in the chat for you if you want to go over this. I dropped this in the Alpha Alerts on Friday, and this is kind of a little bit closer look at stuff under the hood. Okay, here you go. So, interest rates. The biggest change was a clear drop in interest rates, the U.S. dollar and crude. So, some things I think that we can also focus on if you'd like. Um, if you trade futures, or if you want to trade WTI, you can trade WTI as well. Take a look at these crude oil futures. We're going to look to potentially continue to short oil if this deal goes through. And, we talked about this kind of triangle here, this base here that was building um, and breaking down. So we were talking about, a close below this, basically this level here, this support here. So that the trend line is breaking down. And then you can clearly see this was our kind of key support for May. It's breaking down here. This looks like it's potentially now going to turn into a channel. Okay, so if I was going to try to forecast this, I would look at this and basically take a trend line from here. You can see there's a clear resistance line there, and if you want to start drawing maybe support, something like this. Okay, and maybe we chop down into you know mid 70s to low 70s, maybe 60s, over the course of the next several weeks. So something to focus on, other than, let's say, the SPX or futures, if you want to try and maybe short some of the rips. We can maybe come up with some either swing trades or some daily levels, and we can trade futures accordingly. And the other thing from the notes is the Dixie. Um, we're talking about um, some clear resistance up here And it looks like, potentially breaking down. This is a weekly chart here. So if we want to get a little bit more granular on the daily chart here, we're going to just basically take a nice little trend line tool here. You can see it's likely going to come down. Dixie is going to, likely break down and test this support here. So another area of interest. And lastly, take a look at the 10-year. If we look at this upper trend line here, we kind of broke up a little bit here and we're coming back into it. So now maybe we're going to come back and test the lower end of this trend line here. So, this will put, if this kind of rolls over like it maybe looks like it's going to, that will be bullish for equities. So weak dollar, um, and weak oil, and the 10-year rolling over should be a bullish catalyst for the market. So those are the basics I wanted to go over for our Liquid Sundays video. Any questions, feel free to reach out. We can look at some other stuff now as I wrap up the video.